I'm good for an hour now. No, hope not. But again, we are thankful for the opportunity to come and be here this morning, and certainly for each one of you that's come to be in the service. And again, do desire your prayers very much. For those of you that are familiar with Nehemiah and what has taken place here, we maybe would understand the immensity of the work that Nehemiah was called to do. But suppose this morning, for just my thought this morning, suppose you're riding by and you see what's going on and you're not maybe really aware of what all has taken place that has been put forth, that the wall could be put back. Well, that's where I want you to be at this morning. And so what I want us to do, I want us to go back and I want us to read something here and then look at a statement that Nehemiah makes here. But then I want to go back and look mostly at what that statement would entail. And this is a burden now that I've had on my heart. You may feel like this morning that the place that God has called you to do, whatever place that might be. And remember now, the Bible tells us that while we all feel different parts, there's no part that's not important. While some may be out front and seen, there's some that's in the back. While some are well known, there's some that are unknown. But what I want you to understand this morning is whatever part it is that you feel in the work of God, wherever God has designed your work to be, whatever your field of labor is, whatever position you hold, I want you to understand this morning that that is a very, very important position. As husbands, as wives, as children of God, as witnesses for Him, wherever it is this morning that God has called you to feel, a lot of times the devil will come along and he'll kind of, get us distracted. And he'll say, what you are doing is really not that important. You're not really making a difference to anybody. What you are doing is really going unnoticed. And what we'll do is we'll find ourselves being discouraged and we'll find ourselves wanting to quit. And I'm not talking about anything now that I have not experienced myself. But what I want us to do this morning, I want us to be encouraged in the work that God has called you to do. Because this is the thing, whatever that work might be, we are never going to be fully satisfied until we come to understand that it's not my work. It's not about me. It's not about honoring and glorifying me and my name, but it is about honoring God. And the Bible tells us that the work that God does and the word that goes out, that it does not return void. But if you're here this morning and maybe you have not ever heard about Nehemiah, and maybe you're not really aware of maybe the work that Nehemiah had done, then I want you to listen to me this morning for just a few minutes. In Nehemiah chapter 6 and verse 1, now it came to pass when Sanballat and Tobiah the Gershom, the Arabian, and the rest of our enemies heard that I builded the wall, and there was no breach left therein, though at that time I had not set up the doors upon the gates, that Sanballat and Gershom said unto me, saying, come and let us meet together in some one of the villages in the plain of Oneb. But they thought to do me mischief. And I sent message unto them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and come down to you? Yet they said unto me 4 times after this sort, and I answered them after the same manner. Then sent Sanballat his servant unto me in the like manner the 5th time, with an open letter in his hand, wherein was written, it is reported among the heathen, and Geshmu, saith it, that thou and the Jews think to rebel, for which cause thou buildest the wall, that thou mayest be their king according to these words. And thou hast also appointed prophets to preach of thee at Jerusalem, saying, There is a king in Judah. And now shall it be reported to the king according to these words, Come now, therefore, and let us take counsel together. Then I said unto him, saying, There is no such thing done as thou sayest, but thou feignest them out of thine own heart. For they all made us afraid, saying, Their hands shall be weakened from the work, that it be not done. Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands. Afterward I came unto the house of Shemaiah, the son of Delilah, the son of Mehetabel, who was shut up. And he said, Let us meet together in the house of God, within the temple, and let us shut the doors of the temple. For they will come to slay thee. Yea, in the night will they come to slay thee. And I said, Should such a man as I flee? And who is there that, being as I am, would go into the temple to save his life? I will not go in. And lo, I perceived that God had not sent him, but that he pronounced this prophecy against me, for Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. Now, I know that's basically starting right in the middle of the story of Nehemiah here, but I want you to notice what's taking place here. Nehemiah is building this wall. And so the Bible says Sanballat and Tobiah, you remember they are the enemies. They have come now and they have began to conspire against Nehemiah in building the wall. Nehemiah is doing a good work. Nehemiah is building the work or the wall, which is the work of the Lord. And I want you to notice what he said here. Sanballat told him, said, Look, so let's go down here and let's meet in one of the villages. Let's sit down and let's talk about this thing for a while. Nehemiah said, I ain't. It's not that he just ain't. He said, but I'm doing a great work and I can't come. And when I think about the word great, it's not maybe that this is just a big job, but it's an important job. It's a necessary job. It's a needful thing. There's a purpose that we're doing this. I am doing a great work, and therefore I cannot come. And so Sanballat and Tobiah, they wouldn't take no for an answer. So 4 more times, they sent messengers back to Nehemiah. Let's come down here in the village and let's meet and let's talk about this. And Nehemiah 4 times said, I'm not coming. I mean, this is a great work and I can't leave it. And so finally, the 5th messenger, he came and he had an open letter in his hand. And so he turned then back to Nehemiah and basically read him the letter. And what the letter said was, listen, you're just down there trying to make a name for yourself. While you're trying to say that you're going to get this wall built, and you're going to go down here and you're going to be king in Judah, and you're going to have all these priests come, and they're going to prophesy of you, and you're just going to build a name for yourself. Could you imagine now? I mean, you're trying to do the work of the Lord. It's not about you. And then you got your enemies coming and they're saying, yeah, you're just trying to, build a temple after yourself. You're trying to set up your own kingdom. You're trying to go down in the history books. And Nehemiah said, no, that is not true. He said, but you have feigned this out of your own heart. It's something you come up with. And so finally then, another one would come to him and said, listen, let's go down here to the temple and let's shut ourselves up in the house of the Lord because they're going to come and they are going to try to kill you. And Nehemiah said, I can't do that. I can't do that. He said, who am I that I should flee and that the work should be ceased? You hear what he's saying now? I mean, this is important. It's even more important than my own life. And who am I that I should go down and, stop the work? He said, it's too important. And he said, I perceive that God hadn't even sent them. And this is the prayer that he prayed. God, strengthen our hand against our enemies. Strengthen our hand against our enemies. So what I want to do this morning, we're going to go back And I'm not going to ask you to turn and read all of these with me. We're going to go back for just a few minutes. And what I want us to do is I want us to look at the work that God had placed in front of Nehemiah. I want you to look this morning at all the things that came up against him that tried to hinder the work. I want us to stop this morning, if I can, for a few minutes. And I want to draw you a picture here of what Nehemiah is up against. But this is what he called it. It's a good work. A good work. And this morning, in the work that God has you to do, I want you to understand this morning that it is a good work. It's a great work. It's a necessary work. It is a needful work. If I was to come and I was to ask you this morning can you really put a value on spiritual work? Now you think about what I'm asking now. You know, if you was to go out and you was to build a house, you could probably sit down somewhere with somebody that understood about building and carpentry and labor cost and material cost, and you could probably sit down with them and you could say, this is the house that I want to build. And they could come up probably, somewhere within a few $100s, maybe a few $1,000s, or maybe what that would be worth. There are some things maybe that we would possess that we could have somebody come and we could appraise that and we could put a value on it. But when it comes to appraising spiritual work, how much is that worth? To be accounted worthy, not because of us now, but to be accounted worthy by God, to be called into the work, to fill the place. I think it's Isaiah chapter 49, and I'd have to go back and look it up, but I think it's Isaiah 49. And I can just quote it to you. But Isaiah makes a statement there. He said, do you think it's a light thing to be called into the service of the Lord? Is it a light thing to be called into the service of God? You think about what all that entails, what all that means to be called into the service of God. And so Nehemiah gets up one day and he is doing all that he does. And you know the account. The Bible said he looks up and he sees those that are from home coming. And I don't know how all this was about, but Nehemiah, maybe he gets up one morning and he's doing all that he's doing. The Bible said that Nehemiah was a king's cupbearer. That may have been a kind of cushiony job. I don't know. Maybe he tasted the food. Maybe he laid out the clothes. Maybe he prepared the meals. Maybe he lined up, all these other people in the house. I can see that maybe kind of as while it's an important job, but maybe it's kind of a cushiony job, I don't know that Nehemiah had to get out and work in the fields like maybe all the rest of them did. Nehemiah may have not had to get out and toil in the heat of the day maybe like all the rest of them did. But Nehemiah is up one day and he's doing what he's doing, and he's looking out, maybe out across the yard somewhere, and he sees these from home coming, and he goes to meet them. And basically what he asked them is, how is things at home? It's bad, Nehemiah. You know the account. The gates are down, the sepulchres all laid waste, the gates are all burned up, and the Bible said that Nehemiah began to mourn. And I made a statement a lot of times. Now, there's a difference in crying and mourning. Nehemiah now is in grief. And he said he began to mourn. If you would, come down with me to, in chapter 1. He said in verse 4 that Nehemiah began to mourn certain days. He fasted and he prayed. Nehemiah understands the importance of getting the wall put back. Nehemiah understands the importance of having things put back in the city that was there. All right? In chapter 2, verse 17, he makes this statement. He said, for we are in great distress. All right, what would it mean to be in great distress? Nehemiah comes after understanding the destruction that's there, and Nehemiah goes out and he gathers up all these men to come and help him. And then he makes this statement, for we are in great distress. Can you understand this morning? Nehemiah sees the importance of the work. He has mourned. He has fasted and he has prayed. And then he goes out and he gets this group when he gets there to come, and they begin to survey all the damage that's there. And then he makes a statement to them. He said, for we are in great distress. He tells them in verse 18, he said, let us arise and build. So they strengthened their hands, and here's the word again, for this good work. A good work. Now we're in distress. And our enemies are coming and they are, trying to discourage us. But it's a good work. It's a distressful work. But it's a good work. In verse 19, but when Sanballat and Tobiah, the Hornite, Tobiah the servant of the Amorite, and Gershom the Arabian heard it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us and said, what is this thing that ye do? Will ye rebel against the king? Could you imagine? And here again now, they're rebuilding the wall. And the Bible said it is a good work, a necessary work, a needful work. Chapter 4. So built we the wall, and all the walls joined together in the half thereof. For the people had a mind to work. I haven't forgot my subject now. For the people had a mind to work. They got their enemies here. They're trying to discourage them. They're trying to distract them. They're trying to get them off the work. Nehemiah says it's a good work. It's a good work. What we're doing is going to be worth it. It is a worthy cause. And then the Bible said the people had a mind to work. So I can see Nehemiah coming out, and maybe this is not the best way to say this, but I can see Nehemiah coming out, and he's basically just rallying up all the people. And he's trying to get over to them the importance of building the city back, of rebuilding what has been destroyed, of putting back what the enemy has come and taken away. And the Bible said the people had a mind to work. I can see them coming together in unity. And they're doing the work. These people are not jealous of these people. And what these are doing, they're not worried about what these are doing. They have come together, the Bible said, having a mind to work. Now, they're not in some office somewhere, remember. I mean, they're out in the heat. And I'm going to read you some more of this in a minute. They're out in all the elements. Because it's a good cause. Because it's worthy of our time. Because it's something in the end that is going to pay off. So built we the wall, and the people had a mind to work. They began to conspire all of them together to come to fight against Jerusalem and to hinder the work. Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our God and set a watch against them day and night because of them. They're already being discouraged now. Y'all got all these coming, and the people's got a mind to work. But their enemy still has not stopped there. They have come over and over and over. And they're trying to discourage the work. So did you hear what I read to you? The Bible said that Nehemiah came and he set up a watch day and night. Now, you allow me just a little leeway here. Because we all know how human emotion is. Working day and night. Night and day. Day and night. You reckon after a while that got kind of tiresome? You reckon working day and night, night and day. Reckon after a while that began to get kind of tiresome? What I'm asking us this morning is the devil's going to come and he's going to try to discourage me and you in the same way. He's going to have somebody come and he's going to tell you your work is really not that important. You are not really making a difference. Why don't you just quit and throw in the towel like everybody else does? Why are you just keeping on and keeping on? Why don't you just throw it all away? But what I'm asking is, don't you think Nehemiah faced some of those same things? Don't you think some of those that Nehemiah worked with had some of those same discouragements? I mean, here they are, night and day. They're having to get up and to go to work to put the wall back. to restore what was taken down. I mean, this is not going to come by itself. It's going to take somebody with some purpose and some meaning and some want to. It's not something that you just sit back and fold your hands and it just magically happens. It is something that you want to do. But this morning it is something that you see the importance of. And so you got all these working night and day, night and day, night and day, night and day. But they are not discouraged. They are not throwing in the towel. He comes on down then in verse 10. And he said the people began to be discouraged a little bit because there was much rubbish in the way. There was much rubbish in the way. You got all this debris that's got to be taken away. You got all this stuff that's all tore down. Before you can build, all of this has got to be removed. And I'm trying to draw you a picture now. I mean, if you're just driving by and you're seeing these men out here working, you're thinking, well, that might not be much to that, but it is. It is. You got all this that's going on behind the scene, and then you got all the rubbish that's got to be removed. The Bible said in verse 17 that the labor was so intense, working night and day now, day and night, night and day. The Bible said in verse 17 that they held a weapon in one hand and a tool in the other hand. I mean, not only now are they working night and day, not only is there much rubbish to be removed, not only do they have their enemies coming and trying to discourage them and saying all these things about them that's not true, but even while they are working, they got a hammer in one hand and a sword in the other hand. I mean, while they are building back, they are constantly watching and making sure that the enemy is at bay. A tool and a weapon. So Nehemiah can say it's a good work. We are doing a good work. He comes on down in verse 23. So neither I, nor my brethren, nor my servants, nor the men of the guard which followed me, none of us put off our clothes, save that everyone put them off for washing. I don't know if I can draw that one for you. They're working night and day. They got a tool in one hand. They got a sword in the other hand. And the Bible said the only time they took their clothes off was to have them washed. Can you see what Nehemiah is saying? I can't leave this. It's a good work. I can't just walk off and let it fall. It is a good work. And the reason that we know this morning that Nehemiah could say that is because of what all he went through to have the work done. I mean, we ain't even taking our clothes off except for washing. Then we get down to chapter 6. And I mentioned unto them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and come down to you? So what I want to do this morning, I've been a long time getting here. I want you to stop this morning, and I want you to reevaluate. And I choose that word, reevaluate, because sometimes it is easy to feel like in the field that you're working in, that it's just not worth the work. It's not worth the effort. But I want to go back again. I want to ask the question I started with a while ago. How do you value a spiritual work? What you are doing naturally, there will come a time that all of that will be gone. Every bit of it will be gone. All of these monuments that we have built to ourselves, all these things that we think that are so important, one day it's all going to be just gone. Our houses, our money, our land, our cars, our ambitions, all that's going to be gone one day. All this time and money and talents that we have spent all this time and money and talents on, one day it's going to seem so insignificant. Because the Bible tells us that all of this is going to melt with fervent heat. It's all going to be gone one day. And I'm not telling you things in life are not important. I'm not telling you to go home and quit your job. I'm not telling you to move off to the woods somewhere. I'm not telling you this morning that, the things that we have here are not important. We all like to have nice things. But what I am saying this morning is sometimes we get more focused on that than we do the eternal. Sometimes we'll see more the importance of having a name here and not build a name there. A lot of times we will put more emphasis on what we are doing materially and forget the spiritual. And so what I want us to do this morning, I want us to refocus, and I want us to be reminded again of how important it is for us to labor not only in the material, but also in the spiritual. I think the Bible tells us, I think it was Joash, I believe it was. The Bible said that he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. 40 years in Jerusalem. And I don't know this morning maybe what it would take to be king for 40 years. I don't know. But the Bible said that Joash was minded to go back and to build up the temple. And so I could see him making plans to do that. He called in all of the people maybe that was around him, his advisory cabinet. And he told them, he said, you need to go out and you need to speak to the people. And let's get this thing going. Let's do whatever it is necessary to get this work started. To get it going, because it's important work. If I was to ask you this morning, how important is the work here at County Line? Not because of me or you now. Not to have somebody come along and say something about being me and you. But have you ever stopped to think this morning how important the work of County Line actually is? I've made this statement before that we have been given the authority of God to carry the gospel. We have been given the authority of God to go out into the world and to tell the good news of Christ. I'm not telling you this morning it's not important to get a paycheck. I'm not telling you that at all. I'm not telling you it's wrong to buy insurance. But this morning, how does the earthly compare to the spiritual? How does that measure up? Have we put more emphasis on what we have here? Listen, Paul said in Romans chapter 1, he said, for I am ready to preach the gospel to you that are at Rome also. Paul had a burning desire not because of who Paul is now, but Paul could see the importance of carrying the gospel. Paul could see the importance of, listen, there's people that need to hear what I have to tell them. It's not about the messenger, but it is about the message. Listen, the gospel is the good news of people that are downtrodden in the world. The gospel is the good hope of Jesus Christ that can come and raise them up out of that. And the question that I'm asking myself is, have we forgotten how important that is? Here's people that have given themselves to drugs and alcohol and sex and pornography and all these things that's out there. And we have been given the authority, the commission, the good job of going out and carrying the gospel. And you remember now what Isaiah asked him, is that a light thing? I mean, really now, is that a light thing? If you knew of somebody that had cancer, well, let me say it this way. If you know of a cure of cancer, you need to come to my house. If you have a cure for cancer, you need to go see some of these that are going through that. And that's what we have been given. We have been given the gospel that we can carry out, and it will cure the world of their sin. I can't remember Acts chapter 20, 21, 22, somewhere along in there. Paul makes a statement. He said, night and day I have been with you, from house to house, preaching testifying of the gospel of Christ night and day. Why did Paul do that? You think maybe Paul could see the importance of the work? You think Paul understood how important it is just to keep on keeping on? When Paul got tired, he didn't want to go anymore. When he looked down the road and he seen somebody else had a house that was bigger than his, and had a newer boat than his, and had a bigger car than he did. And Paul's trying to keep his going, and all the rest of them got 4x4s and side-by-sides and all this kind of stuff. Paul said, but it's important. But it's important. I'm going to sacrifice this over here that I can get the gospel to them. Somebody said one time, why keep what you can't have when you can gain what you cannot lose? And so what I'm asking us this morning, when they come to Nehemiah and they try to get Nehemiah to quit, Nehemiah said, I can't because the work is too important. When he got discouraged after all these times they came to him, he said, we can't because it's a good work. When the people got tired and they wanted to lay their tool down, I could just see Nehemiah come back to them and said, boys, keep on keeping on. When they got tired and sweaty and they wanted to take their clothes off and go buy them a new suit of clothes, Nehemiah said, son, just keep on going because this is important work. That's what I want us to see this morning. Sometimes it's easy to lose our zeal. It's easy to get discouraged and say, it just ain't worth it. Listen, could you imagine Noah, some 25 years or so? Just keep right on building, son. Just keep right on building. Could you see Rahab? You remember the spies did. They came to Rahab's house. And they told them, listen, we heard about your king or about your God and you know what he's going to do. We know your God's going to take over this city. But this is what I want you to do. I want you to spare my family. Whenever you and your God, whenever you come and you take over this city, I want you to spare my family. Do you remember what the spies told Rahab? You go out and you get however many you can find. You go out and you tell however many you want to tell that if they will be inside this room and you put this thread outside this window, this thread that you're going to let us down on, whoever is in this room here behind this thread, whenever we come, we will spare everybody in this room. I probably couldn't prove it if I had to. But you reckon that was important to Rahab? You reckon she went down the street and she told some of the folks who live down the road from her, listen, destruction's coming, but there's a remedy. Reckon how many houses she went to maybe, and they knocked on her, and she knocked on their door, and they slammed the door in their face. But it's important. It's important. Reckon how many, at the end of the day, after all the thing was said and done, how many people she had in there? And I don't know. I don't know. Make her go back and read it. But what I'm asking is, do you think it was an important work to her? You think she saw this as something that's necessary? When Mordecai came in and he told Esther, he said, listen, deliverance is going to come. Somebody's going to bring deliverance. Remember, all the Jews, they're threatened being killed. And Mordecai comes in and tells her, listen, who knows? But maybe God hadn't sent you to the kingdom for such a time as this. And so Esther makes a statement. She said, I'm going in. And if I perish, then I perish. Do you think Esther saw that as an important job? As a good thing? Can you see what Nehemiah is saying? Nehemiah is saying, I can't quit because it's too important. I can't lay down my tool because the devil's not going to lay down his. I cannot cease the work because it's too important. I cannot just fold up the towel and quit because there's too much at stake here. Listen, fathers, you ever feel like that you just ain't getting through? You know, just ain't getting through. Isaiah made this statement. I think it's Isaiah chapter 19, verse 38, somewhere along in there. The Bible makes this statement. It said, the fathers to the children shall make known thy truth. Shall make known thy truth. Could you imagine what an important job that is? It's important to teach them to read and write. It's important to teach them honesty. It's important to teach them to be a good citizen. It's important to teach them to, an honest day for honest pay. But has it ever sunk in this morning how important of a job it is as a father to teach your children the truth? I mean, the devil's out there with a lie. The devil is coming at them day after day after day. And I could stand here this morning probably and give a lot of things that the devil coming and he is just bombarding them with day after day after day. But your job as a father is to have a weapon in one hand and a tool in the other. And just keep on keeping on. Our jobs as fathers, as grandfathers, is while we are handing down stuff, while we are teaching them to do all that we are teaching them to do in the world, to never forget how important it is to ham the truth down to them. Wives, mothers, I think sometimes, and I'll say this as a failing husband and a failing father, I think sometimes the role of a good wife and a good mother is probably one of the jobs that is appreciated the less. I mean, what's it worth? Well, the Bible says to have a virtuous woman, that her price is far above rubies. And it's got to be hard, ladies, just to keep on keeping on. Sometimes maybe you feel like you're doing it all alone. I mean, about time you get it all picked up, they come and mess it up again. About time you get it all cleaned up, it's time to wipe it all again. About time you get them all washed and ironed and starched and hung up somewhere, it's time to do it all over again. And your job don't stop at 5 o'clock when he comes home. You have to work the weekends. You don't get paid time and a half for overtime. It's a hard job being a wife and a mother. But it's worth it. It's worth it. Can you hear what Nehemiah is saying? I can't lay the tool down. I can't fold up and quit. I'm doing a good job. I'm doing a good job. The Bible says for the older to teach the younger. You see what I'm getting at? It's important. I'm doing a good work. I can see, listen, I can see Joseph when he's being tempted by Potiphar's wife. He said, I cannot do this thing and sin against God. Do you think Joseph's position with God was important to him? It's important for me to live myself, to put myself in a right relationship with God. While it's good to have friends, that's important. While it's good to have a good name out in the community, what Joseph is saying here is, listen, I don't want nothing between me and God, because that is what is the most important. That is what I need the most. I can see him coming to Daniel. Daniel's coming to this window, and he's opening up this window 3 times, and he's praying. And you know the thing. Can't do that no more. Can't do that no more. But was it important? I mean, he goes to the window, the Bible says, like he did before, and he prays. Could I ask us this morning, your relationship with the Lord? I mean, is that important? It is. It is. To have a good prayer life, is that important? It is. The Bible tells us that we are the light, the salt, the ambassadors. Is that important? The Bible tells us to have a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. This morning, can we see the importance of that? I don't want to tax your patience this morning. But in so many areas of our life, the devil is coming as Tobiah and Sanballat did. And they're saying, it's just not worth it. Just fold it up and quit. Just go home. You can have more the other way. But can you hear again what Nehemiah is saying? I can't quit. I can't stop. I can't throw in the towel. It is way too important. It is way too important. This morning you're here maybe and you've never trusted Christ. If I was to ask you this morning, when are you going to get saved? Well, you could say, whenever we trust the Lord, whenever we repent. And while that is true, it's not going to be received until it's first seen the importance of it. When you can see yourself lost, when you can see the importance of trusting Christ, when you can see yourself dying without Him and going to hell, and you can see that, and that's the most important, then this morning you can be saved. It's not about your works. It's not about your family name. It's not about coming down here and taking the preacher's hand. It's not about living morally right. It's about trusting God that sent Christ to pay your sin debt. It's about Him coming into the world and doing for you what you could not do for yourself. What was it Agrippa said? Almost. Almost. Paul comes and Paul preaches to Felix. What does he say? When I have a convenient season. When it's a little more important. When I have time. When all this other stuff is out of the way. I'll call you back, Paul. And I hear you again. We don't ever read where he did. And so this morning, when you can see the importance of it, when you can see your need of it, when you can desire it, and based upon the authority of the Word of God, He said, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And so this morning, if we could see the importance of where God has placed us, then we could keep on. If you that are lost this morning could see the importance of being saved, then this morning while we sing, we invite you to come.